So who here saw The Dark Knight Rises? Yeah. It was a great movie, right? You know, I love movies like that. Superheroes chasing after bad guys, stopping at nothing until they're defeated. You know, you could almost say that they're relentless. Let me tell you about somebody else that was relentless. Her story can be found in Mark chapter 5. Starting in verse 25, it says, "And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering." This story shows a woman who pursued God relentlessly and was blessed for it. But here's the thing. Being relentless after God really isn't complicated. In fact, it's as simple as ABC. Let me explain. In order to relentlessly pursue God, the first step is to acknowledge our weakness. A, acknowledge. Mark 5:25 says, "She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse." This story shows a woman who underwent the help of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet she couldn't be healed. This was her first mistake. You see, for 12 years of her life, this woman was looking for a natural remedy, when in reality she needed a supernatural remedy. There comes a point when, while we're all blessed by God with earthly gifts, they simply aren't enough. It wasn't until the woman saw the power of Jesus before her that she acknowledged that there was nothing in this world that could save her, except for the power of Jesus Christ. Next, to further our quest after God, we must wholeheartedly believe that he can help us. B is believe. Mark 5:28 says that the woman had said, "If I just touch his clothes, I will be healed." Belief is a tool that is highly powerful, and yet is abandoned by many. In this case, we find this woman who had lived in suffering for 12 years of her life showed complete belief in God's power. It's also interesting to note the way the woman phrased her statement. If I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. You see, the woman's belief in God's power was so strong that all she needed to do was be in his presence, and she knew she would be healed. It was her faith that reassured her healing. Let me tell you about a television program preceding the 1988 Winter Olympics. It featured blind skiers being trained for slalom skiing, impossible as it sounds. Paired with sighted skiers, they were taken to the slopes, where their partners shouted left and right. As they obeyed the commands, they were able to navigate the course across the finish line, depending solely on their partner. Only through belief in their partner could they succeed. Finally, in order to pursue God, you must carry out your faith. C is carry out. Luke 8:44 says, "She came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped." You see, it doesn't matter what you believe, because if you can't carry out your faith, it doesn't mean a thing. James 2:17 says that faith without works is dead. In the story, the woman acts on her belief in God's strength, and the scripture says that she was immediately healed. Let me put it into retrospect. You see, the woman could have acknowledged that there was nothing more she could do, and she could have even believed in God's strength to be the only thing that could heal her. But if she had not carried out her faith, if she had not touched Jesus' robe, it's fair to say that she may have never been healed. You see, faith without works is dead. And that's why we must always carry out the faith. Let me tell you a story. One Sunday morning in 1865, a black man entered a church in Richmond, Virginia. When communion was served, the black man knelt at the altar. The congregation was astonished. How dare he? Suddenly, a distinguished man stood up, walked down the aisle, and knelt next to the black man. With Confederate General Robert E. Lee carrying his example, the rest of the congregation soon followed. As you can see, pursuing God relentlessly really isn't complex at all. The real question is whether you're willing to endure the challenge of seeking God. Remember, acknowledge, believe, carry out. It's as simple as ABC. Thank you.
Yeah.